I'm joined today by an old friend, Pat Rosney. I've known Pat many, many years and discovered recently that he's due to retire. Pat, we go back a long time, you and I. Why now? Why are you bailing?
Yeah, we do go back a long time, Floyd, and it's been good. Why now? Well, I always kind of promised Julie that I'd retire at 60. Well, when I say retire, just retire from training dogs. You see, we've always been a small kennel, and the two of us kind of do everything ourselves. So it's not like having staff where you can get away or take it a bit easier, that kind of thing. You're full on all the time during the day, and then driving then to the tracks, and especially when we were open racing, it was a lot harder. You get up in the morning here and you do a day's work, and then you might have to drive to Brighton or somewhere like that and back again. Them things catch up with you, and you sacrifice an awful amount when you're doing that. It's training dogs, say the way we did and the way we were so much hands on, is pretty much a vocation, and you have to sacrifice so much that other people just take for granted, and they do, and they go on holiday and they have time off here and there, and have other hobbies. This was our life, this was our hobby, this was everything to us, and we give it everything, and consequently we missed out on a lot of other things. So there's I'm I'm 60 in November, and so there's things we want to do outside of racing, and so we think this is now the right time to do it while we're still able.
I was just thinking, you're kind of bailing out a similar age to your mother-in-law, but possibly not
No,
the case.
no, no. I think she's got a good start on me there. Yeah,
To be
yeah.
honest, what you said is quite interesting because I do remember I hear a lot of trainers moaning and oh, this is wrong and that's wrong, and I've never forgotten a quote. One day we were talking about something, and I think you'd got a long journey for a trial session somewhere, and you said, "Well, nobody makes us do it," and that's kind of the answer, isn't it? I mean, nobody makes you do it. You do it because you want to do it, and you in some cases people do it because they don't have a choice because they've sort of gone down a career that there's nothing else left for them.
Mm.
But if you do choose to do it, then you can also got the option. Then if you're not enjoying it, then to walk away, but just don't moan about it.
Yeah, we did choose to do it, and like I say, we went into it and give it everything, and took over our lives, completely took over our lives. You know, I think at one point I hadn't had a day off for nearly 10 years, and I've had dogs 40 years, and you give up a lot, and the last few years we've had a few holidays, and you realise then what you've possibly missed out on. But listen, don't get me wrong, I wouldn't change anything. It's been fantastic. The sport's been good to us. The dogs have been great to us, and the owners, and that we would never been able to do anything like we did without them. And I have no regrets whatsoever. Wished I'd have done something else. No way. It's been great. It's been great, and but I think now, and I'm comfortable with it, and it's just it's like anything, anybody doing a job. The time will come when you say, like, we've gone as far as we can go, and that's it. And I don't just want to hang around just to be part of the furniture and that kind of thing. It's no, it's time to go.
Yeah, to be honest, it's a sentiment very close to my own heart because I'm a little bit older than you, so I'm not here forever. I can promise you. Um, Going back, I think I was in touch with your brother Pete, who many people know, of course, as a Stipe. I think he said he's still got the original first trophy for the first race that you won.
I
Um,
believe so. Yeah,
yeah, the
I believe so.
French Stand Cup or something. I think it would have been. Go-
Yeah, the first dog I ever had was bred by my uncle, and he had a lot of dogs in Ireland, mainly with the Jamestown prefix, and uh, I got a pup from him. He was a 1980. That was the first dog I ever had. He was a 1980 black dog, and he was by tough decision out of Montana Ferry, and cracking dog. And we were on the local flap at that point at Chester, where we used to go with it. With me and Pete would go with my dad, and they raced on a Saturday and a Monday, and that's where we went, and that's where we started. And I think that trophy was actually from a track called Winsford, which is a flap in Cheshire. And he was a clean dog. That first dog, kind of spoiled us really, because he turned out to be a really good dog, and we enjoyed great dog then, and that's where it all kicked off. Yeah.
I was going to say, I mean, I'm from a flapping background as well, and sort of, I remember journalists used to, when I got into journalism, they used to kind of like look down their noses at us. But you think without the old flapping lads, there wouldn't be an industry anymore, would there? I mean, it's been entirely reliant on those guys that came from the flaps that have kept everything ticking over.
For sure. There's plenty of people started off, and good trainers who started off on the flaps, and I think we're missing an awful lot of that now, because nowadays, basically to get a license is a building that's of the right measurements, and you'll get a license. The people coming into the sport then who wanted to progress from the flaps into license, they'd had a background of looking after dogs. They knew the job, and they did know the job. Them dogs were really well looked after, and they were fully entitled to a license, because they knew what they were doing. And so I think the sport's missing greatly the flapping scene. Without a doubt, it's a grounding for the to progress into the license game.
Yeah, you certainly didn't stick around in flapping for anything other than the best reasons, did you? Because the idiots thought that, oh, they were going to make a fortune, but they didn't last long. So you had to genuinely love the dogs, because the rewards weren't there otherwise. It had to be a real, I don't know.
It was a betting. The prize money was obviously very poor, apart from open racing, where there was good competitions, and you would never know what you'd meet. You could bump into anything. You could bump into the best dog in the country. Because a lot of licensed lads were flapping in them days.
And talking of Charlie Lister,
yeah, and not just Charlie. There was others. Don't kid yourself. And some of them weren't even trainers on the licensing. They were even officials, let's say. But it was tough. It was hard to win, because you never knew what you were running against. And it was very much a betting orientated sport, as opposed to a prize where a prize money orientated sport, which possibly the licensing is, where you get paid for running every dog that you run. You certainly didn't with flapping. You had to pay to run. And even if it was a graded race, there was an entry fee, small, but it was an entry fee. So, and the same with open races. You always had to pay towards the prize money, more sweepstakes. And but the betting, that's what it was all about. And if you were going to make money, it was through betting.
I was going to say that the thing that I always think about back in flapping days was always kind of the devilment of it as well, wasn't it? Where people are bringing other people's dogs in, or swapping dogs over in terms of, you know, the guy who's got the local champion that's won the last 4 opens. He's bringing the black bitch in, but it is actually his bitch, or has he double bluffed everybody and it is actually his bitch? And but then you find out, as I said, Charlie or one of any others has got one in the race anyway, in which case all the plans go astray.
Well, yeah, and you always had, if you were a punter, you waited for the money, but there were good judges out there, you know, who could spot dogs, and they knew there could be the smallest scar on a dog somewhere, and they'd be looking for it, you know. There were some of them were amazing judges, and people did things to try and cover up identity of dogs, you know, their appearances and things like that. But it's some of them you just couldn't get them past some of these judges, and soon as the books had opened up, they'd be in before you know, and that'd be that. But in general, you waited for the money to come, because the good dogs, obviously, they're there for a bet, and so the money would come. And there was no off course market, so the money would come, you know, on the track with the bookmakers there, and it was a totally different game, and there was no rules, kind of such, was there? You know, it was anything goes.
Yeah, very
And
much Wild West.
yeah, without a doubt, yeah, and but it was great. You know, it was good, and it's a shame it's not still around.
Yeah. Who would you say was the best dog you saw on the flaps that you would know of?
Um, that Springwood Mickey was going round in my time, you know, and he had a big reputation, and very good dog, very good dog, and but when you were on the flaps, a lot of them were inside hairs in them days, and so everybody, you do a trap draw in the paddock, and everybody wanted trap one. Springwood Mickey was a wide runner. He got his box every time. You know, I used to say at the time, because the man who owned him, Eric Jeffries, he'd always bring him in himself. He never really tried to hide him, and he called him Springwood Mickey a lot of the places when he ran. And you know, I used to say at the time, you know, just everybody seed wide, and it's your only chance of beating him, and because he didn't get his box, and but nah, people didn't, because they all wanted trap one, and leave Springwood Mickey on the outside to himself, and you know, he was a fast dog, but he was the star around there at the time, and probably before him, a blue dog called Blue Max. He was a very good dog, and but there was a lot of dogs who appeared as well, especially at the likes of Bolton, mainly, where the market was really strong, and there was good dogs appeared there. You know, even the likes of Skurlow Champ was rumoured to have appeared there, and that, but that was the prime place, really, in our area, was Bolton, because the market was so strong.
And of course, that would have been the first time you'd have come crossed swords with Mr. O'Dowd, would it not?
Yeah, well, he was at Preston, where, you know, just up the road from where we are now, and he was at West Orton, and then I think the last place he was at Bolton. Yeah, when it went licensed. Yeah.
And then gradually you moved on. I mean, I know you've been various places over the years. Bellevue was always very close, but you had different issues at different times at Bellevue as to kind of why you came and went. When I came to see you, I don't know how many years ago, you primarily got the stud dogs at that stage, hadn't you?
Yeah. We went through that period. You know, we started off with Ratify and Highway Leader, and then we got Plasticine Gem, and we had Chandler Slippy, Westmead Buffer. You know, we had some nice dogs for stud, and but yeah, it started off with Ratify, and we did very well. I remember you saying to me about if you get 30 bitches, you'll do extremely well. And I think the first year we got 90, and uh, that was good. That was good, and we've been fortunate. We've been very fortunate with all the bits and pieces of breeding and racing that we've done. It's always worked out well for us.
Yeah. So exactly what order did it come then? Did it come directly into Bellevue? I can't remember how it, because we were involved. I remember we were involved because they wouldn't give you a license, would they? I only just
Yeah,
remembered that.
yeah, yeah, yeah. That's true. Never know why. I never knew why, but
Because you're
that.
dodgy.
Yeah, yeah. Well, that was Frank Melville, I think. I think that was. Well, he was hardly a saint either, was he?
I remember we ran a campaign at the start, didn't we, to try and get you a license because that they didn't have any good reason. Didn't we even look at things like the Human Rights Act and
Yeah,
not
that's right.
being entitled to earn a living?
Yeah,
And then was it John Gilbin that got you into Bellevue? I'm trying to remember.
yeah, yeah. We bought the place that we're at now. We bought from Jimmy Gibson, and he was at Bellevue, but he was retiring on ill health, and so we wanted to. Where we was in Warrington, we only had room for like 12 dogs, so we wanted somewhere a bit bigger, and so we ended up buying this place from Jimmy, and but Jimmy only moved, 5-minute walk from us, and so he'd come down regularly for something to do, and pop his head in, and then he his health got better, and he wanted to. And John Gilbin kind of left it open ended for him, that he, when he retired on ill health, that he could return any time he felt better. So he started making these kind of suggestions and that, and I said to him, well, yeah, we'll do it. Let's do it. And if you want to speak to Bellevue, we'll do it. And um, I'll pay you weekly, and you can do as much or as little as you want. It doesn't matter whether you do anything or you work full time. It doesn't matter. Just do what you feel you want to do, and that's how it all started. And Bellevue knew the situation. John Gilbin knew the situation, and then and we take over then in our name in about 18 months.